Good evening, we'll call the May 20th. Meeting on the Council Order Prize for the final file by. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Alexander. Here. Councilmember Brandon. Here. Councilmember Brinker. Councilmember Conklin.
Here.
Councilmember Missouri. Here. Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Long.
Here. Approval of the minutes from the April 15th.
I'll second.
A motion, floor and second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander. Yes. Councilmember Brandon. Yes. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Public comments and requests on some residents and city taxpayers. Please rise, state your name and where you live. Please.
I'm Niles Manzoris, and I have a hair, that's located outside the Lafayette Airport. I live, Mill Hall. I have a letter to the council.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna read the letter verbatim, just
Let's not.
bring the things. I would like to advise the council of recent actions that was taken by the city manager, Greg Wilson. It demonstrated his unwillingness to negotiate in good faith regarding a through defense agreement. I believe the managers act unprofessionally and intentionally trying to impede the negotiations to punish those pilots that opposed him in the airport sale. As you know, in 2023, all the tenants of the airport got a notification that he intended to sell the airport.
Can you stop for just a second? I apologize. First of all, I'm gonna ask this of you, out of respect. Mr. Wilson works on behalf of council. The letter that came to tenants came to you on behalf of the city council. Mr. Wilson doesn't make any decisions about the sale or what happens with the city of Lock Haven's property without the approval of council. So this is untrue. The press is here and the press is listening, and I think it's really important that we make it very clear. It was never anyone's intention to sell the airport. That wasn't anyone's intention ever. You were advised that there might be an appraisal of the airport, and that we were considering listening to a group of people who had an interest in the airport. Mr. Wilson did not make that decision on his own. That was a decision of council. So before you go any further, let's just be careful about the kind of information that we're putting out, because this is,
I presented that original letter that we received to the council when I presented that last year.
yes,
So I'm using that as backup.
okay. Just so that we're clear that Mr. Wilson doesn't have to sell anything that belongs to the city without the authorization of city council.
I understand.
All right.
Well, it certainly didn't sound like it in the letter.
The point I was trying to make with that, since that situation, Mr. Wilson, I believe, has taken it as a personal attack against him, and he's been attacking the residents or the hangar owners of the airport, making it very difficult. in several social settings. Mr. Wilson refers to us as a group of rich pilots using the airport as private country club. I myself started my affiliation with the airport in 1972 when I was a pilot. Shortly thereafter, I acquired a vintage Piper Cub, of which I had some of the original employees that worked on that club in 1946 helped me restore it. Over the next 40-some years, I taught my kids how to fly it. I've given countless rides to people from around the world. I've never accepted a penny for any of these services. I don't think that qualifies me as a rich pilot using the airport.
May I ask, since it's my character that's being
Well, let me
publicly
finish
accused,
my statement here before.
but you've got to make a statement that you said I made. To whom did I make it and where? And on what occasion? What was the date? To whom did I say it? And where were we located?
I don't have that specific information.
What you're
I've heard.
quoting me as saying that. Or you just said you heard this. But is that what your letter said?
Yes. Okay, regarding the through the fence agreement. The original agreement was given to us, or was given to me and museum, and I believe one other airport tenant. Some of the other tenants never received any communications. That original contract was a residential through the fence contract, and it used a lot of the stipulations that were involved for the T hangar rentals. It took a copy of that information. And that information was correct, it was very restrictive, no business activities. The city would have first right of refusal to buy the hangar. I couldn't pass it on to my children. The city would have that. $1 million worth of insurance. So that we notified, or I notified, that I was unable to sign that contract the way it stood. There was absolutely no communication that I received till last week. And that was on Monday, May 13th. I got the mail sometime after lunch. I received a slightly modified contract. I immediately contacted the city solicitor, Justin Hauser, and arranged for a meeting of which we had the next day. I had a very cordial meeting with him. He understood my concerns. We made changes that I was interested in the contract. We agreed he was going to present it to the city manager. And if it was an agreement, I was willing to sign that contract immediately. I received no response whatsoever from Mr. Wilson. On Thursday, May 16th, I received information from one of my hangar neighbors that the city was putting up a fence blocking my access to the airport. I notified the authorities. The fence, my property is 30 feet, over 30 feet inside the airport fence. The fence was put up. The reason they put the fence there is if they put it up on my property in the city property line, they most likely wouldn't have a wide enough clearance for the taxiway. So the taxiway would have to be shut down. So the fence is on the airport fence on my property, which I don't have a problem because I'm for the airport and I don't want to be a sick and sound. Authorities, the state police were there, city police were there. They looked at the deed, they looked at the current survey, And they agreed with me that fence was on my property and they had the city remove it. What I'd like to say in closing is I'm not opposed to it through the fence agreement. I would like to be able to negotiate for a fair agreement. In closing that, I put the actual epic guidelines for through the fence. And also, there's an example of another airport, how they handle it. We've taken, I myself, Carl Williamson, the other hangar owners, I have mowed the airport grass. We've mowed the grass on the north side of the airport. I've done it for 10 years. Carl's done it for over 40 years. And now that this controversy is going, we stopped mowing it. So what they've done is they pulled the secretary out of the office, and the secretary is mowing the lawn. So when you call the airport, there's no one to answer the phone to do any fueling because the secretary's out mowing grass, because we did that for free forever. I think that this squabbling back and forth and not legitimate negotiations is definitely hurting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Your name?
Yes, sir. Craig Care. I'm actually from Cocoa, Florida, but I resided in Lock Haven for several months during the summer. And also 1064 East Water Street, which is a hangar with the through the fence issue. I never received any of the contracts, either at my hangar address, which I keep a mailbox for in Florida. I did write to the city 2 months ago today from Florida with my Florida address, but no response. I've been back 2 weeks. I wish you would address the weather and the rain and the temperature.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I did meet with Mr. Hauser on Wednesday the 15th. That he said, "Oh, I see you have never had an agreement." So he gave me an agreement. He's like, "Well, this isn't correct, but at least you can see the temperature of it." So that was 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. On Thursday morning, a fence is going up in front of the hangar. I'm supposed to be at hangar 2, which is the maintenance facility for required annual inspection. I can't get there. I've talked to him every day. And Thursday afternoon, he sent me a message. The fence is coming down. The city will be there to take it down. Thursday, Friday, obviously not Saturday, Sunday. Today, 3:15, I came here, fence is still there. So, and the other thing was the fee basis, and all other airports do it on. I mean, if you get it in writing, it's based on tie-down fee, monthly tie-down fee. As of today, there's no monthly tie-down fee at Lock Haven Airport. Last week, there was a monthly tie-down fee. Now it's gone. So I guess there's no cost basis in nothing. But again, when Niles said the other airports that do the same cost basis based on tie-down fees, and then it's normally 75%. We have all the paperwork to do. The new wording, the FAA says, tenants on airport making similar use of the airport. So that could be a tie-down person, a hangar. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5. There's different uses. But yeah, with Mr. Hauser, he's been very cooperative, and it's been a pleasure to talk to him and his assistants. He's just like, "The fence is still there?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." So there's no answer on that. I do need to get the hangar 2 for maintenance, but so anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council?
Can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Carl. Since 1943, that's when my brother took me down there, an apartment right down from Mr. Piper's house. So I've always been involved here. Do the math, 79 years. And frankly, I've seen that, I was on the airport committee for 9 years, which I'm just, do you actually have an airport advisory board anymore?
Yes.
We have an subcommittee. Council, but not.
It's not on your website. It doesn't say who's on it and who's on it that can give advice. I mean, advisory states advice.
Right.
And not only-
That's not-
Wouldn't it be a good idea? So we can have a little more back and forth without having to fight with certain people and, you know, try to get this thing solved. All I want to do is be your customer. Yeah, a lot of people think we're playboys. We just want to be your customer. We buy your fuel. And it seems like they're just running us off. We've already lost 2 businesses. They're gone. And for the first time in my memory, there was gonna be hangars. There's always a waiting list. And as I heard, as of yesterday, I guess, there's no more tie down fee. You can buy a hangar for $240 or entire airplane outside for about $320. Does that make sense? I mean, every airport has a tie down fee because we have to, there's no hangars. And that's one of the reasons we have hangars. Because we have, we can't sit up. And, you know, I don't see what we're causing the airport. I mean, we're your customer. That's what I think be true, like the customer. I'm sure you would like to pay $250 a month to buy gas at your favorite gas station. Yeah. So that's my spiel.
Well, we do have. Yes,
We're meeting, and we're meeting,
your meeting tomorrow, okay.
it's tomorrow or Wednesday.
So, just to, this is kind of all of this. So we've been working on a through the fence agreement that's required, correct?
Right.
It's required, all right. And where are we, I know fence up, can you kind of give us a rundown of where we're at point?
Yep. The city solicitor was, provided last November, the 6 properties that were identified by the FAA during a meeting of the Airport Advisory Committee, which, council members, myself, city planner, as well as 7 people from the FAA and 5 people from the Bureau of Aviation met on October 19th by Zoom. I'll share some of the direct quotes from the FAA's Eastern Region Airports Division Compliance Program Manager, David Cohen. This is a quote. "You put up a fence and you can no longer come in until you pay us a lot. There's no limit to how much you can charge them. And by the way, you can charge them $1 million each and they can't say anything to the FAA because the grant assurances don't protect them." Planning manager Anna Ellis of the Bureau then directed us that if you want to maintain access, you will have to pay. The city was told that you will enter into those agreements because the city was delinquent in not doing that. That's a recorded meeting too. Tom Tomczyk, who's worked on the city's projects for decades from the Bureau of Aviation, stated that in 2008, as a continued condition of funding, the city was required to enter into TTF agreements and start collecting a charge for the same. That's more than 16 years ago that you have not been paying and you have not had that agreement in front of you. The agreement that was placed in front of you was provided to the city by the FAA Eastern Region Airports Division Compliance Program Manager, David Cohen himself. We did not write it. The only edit we made to that was to put in your individualized information. If you take issue with what there is in that agreement, there's only so much the city can change. the FAA will want to review those. And if they don't like them,
A contract based on that was for resident.
Yeah, before. If you want.
I'll get to that. So on October 19th, the city was told it would become compliant. In fact, the exact quote was to tell you, the first thing we're going to do, this is again from the FAA, is to say to you on October 20th, look, we're going to stop you from accessing the airport unless you start to pay us a fee. Since our typical tenants are teen hangar tenants, we were directed that the fee we were to charge is for a T hangar tenant. Again, that agreement came from the FAA. Now, in January, you received your first copy that the solicitor says were sent to all 6 of these addresses, which are from your tax records. Again, these 6 properties were pointed out during that meeting by the FAA itself while viewing an aerial view of our map. So they determined who would be responsible for paying those, not the city, not the city manager, not the city manager who chose you, set the price, or even wrote the agreement. That was the FAA. In January, you received a copy. That was the first copy. It was an incorrect copy for everyone but one of them, because you should have had commercial. Only one individual should get a residential. So upon learning that, when you all came to council to decry that you had received the wrong agreement, the correct agreement was provided. And that was provided on February 14th to either you individually or the lawyers who stepped forward that you had sent us letters that they were representing you in the through the fence agreement. If you had a lawyer, it was sent to the lawyer, you had sent us a letter. So after February 14th, we hear from none of you. 35 days later, a whole nother month of not paying, a whole nother month of the city being non-compliant with the FAA. Finally, Larson talked to the city solicitor. He wanted some changes made. Those changes were made immediately that day. And on March 21st, yet another updated copy was sent to your legal address on record or to the lawyer who you said was representing you. Those letters from lawyers didn't come without your consent. So now, March, nobody signs, nobody pays. April, nobody signs, nobody pays. May, nobody signs, nobody pays. We were directed in no uncertain terms that if we wanted funding from the FAA and DOA, that these agreements would be entered into. The FAA directed that. The FAA is the one who provided the agreement, and the FAA is the one who identified you as those customers. If these are not signed, we have our planning meeting in less than a month. You've had February, March, April, May. We are meeting in the first half of June with the Bureau of Aviation and the FAA to beg them once again for funding for paving and for self-fuel. But with no through the fence agreements, there will be no funding. You can say that all you want, but there are people who were present in the room with 7 FAA professionals, including compliance managers for the entire East, and 5 people from the Bureau of Aviation. So you can say it's bullshit all you want, Mr. Williamson, but the fact is you were not present in that room to hear the haul on the carpet that the city received. And that's just one issue. So the city has been acting in good faith and provided those to you in the way that the solicitor passed the list. If you did not receive yours, I cannot explain why. I can't. But if you didn't receive it because you didn't go to your lawyer to pick it up, or they didn't give it to you, the city is not to blame for it. So you didn't make any move until we did a Pennsylvania 1 call. And when you saw the markings go in the ground, then you took action. But only then. You didn't take action prior to that. You took action when you saw the markings that we were going to likely put up a temporary fence, which is precisely what we did. Now subsequently, someone has taken all the orange fence down. When you brought it to our attention, had to go to the state police, probably an overstep. Could have just simply contacted Doug and he could have had Kyle come down and you could have shown your deed and your survey. Once that was seen, it was taken down off your property. The rest of the fence is on the city's property. The city has every right to have the fence up. It was told to do it on October 19th.
The meeting,
Can I make a comment?
excuse me. Yes, sir. You said the meeting with the FAA, that included the airport subcommittee,
Right.
and, it was a meeting of record, correct?
It is,
There are minutes to it or anything?
I don't know if the FAA took minutes, it's the FAA's meeting.
Okay, I'm just trying to, because I'm not a part of the airport committee, so I'm trying to get and members of the airport committee, you and Steve and who else?
Just Steve and I.
Only the two of you, okay. So you were there,
Yes.
Correct meeting, everything you said was correct. I took notes
okay?
on my own, but I didn't take minutes. It was recorded minutes somewhere, I don't even.
Well, I brought back to meeting of record, that's why I was asked.
I never said meeting of record, I said it was recorded. And the solicitor has the recording. It was recorded by Nick Barber, who is the city's aviation engineer.
Okay,
Well, I think we've bent over backwards trying to bring the process along. And then it went to legalese and now it's to this point, we're not any further than what we were back in October. So let's put a bit together and try to, and find some middle ground and let's work. It gives you leases, you wouldn't rent to somebody and if they stiffed you on the rent, what would you do? You would throw them out probably, right? Because you weren't getting your rent. So now you know how we feel a little bit, and we know the airport's at a deficit. And one of the ways to make up a portion of that is this fee. And that'll help offset the deficit that we have down there that the rest of the city taxpayers are all chipping in to help pay for. We just want to make them self-sufficient and gather as much as we can to offset that benefit. But that's.
okay, go ahead, you
We
had the floor.
don't want to work with you.
The first thing, the first amended contract I got was on May 13th. And I called the city solicitor. They took things. If we were gonna be shut off, which I didn't know at that time, I made an appointment the next day. My contention isn't here about the contract. The contract, I'm willing to negotiate. We're trying to negotiate something that's fair. I'm not trying to get out of it. What I'm concerned is the lack of negotiation. I didn't get any notification of the airport being blocked off. You would think if you're being evicted from an apartment, you have to give somebody 30 days notice or something that, hey, we're gonna block you off and do this. Absolutely no communication whatsoever until May 13th. I met with the city solicitor the next day, had a great meeting, and he was gonna submit the changes to the contract. The very first contract was printed out of the FAA's things for residential. It was just the wrong contract. It was a mistake.
We've acknowledged that. And then
That's why was went back and have not gotten any communications from you. And I don't
it was
have,
sent to you.
I don't have any legal representation.
Well, the lawyer that sent us a letter said he was representing you in the through the fence agreement, and that is to whom that letter was, or that agreement was sent. I'll happily email you a copy of that letter so that you can talk to that lawyer that he's misrepresenting himself as your
Now,
lawyer.
I saw a copy of that letter and he said, he mentioned that he was not representing me.
No, it says right at the top that you're his client.
Well, I don't know about that first letter, but I corrected that, he wasn't represented. He sent a letter.
I've seen that, but he might have sent it to the solicitor.
Sorry, you were next.
Yes, so I did, being in Florida on March 20th, 2 months ago today, I sent a letter to Mr. Wilson and Mr. Long. No response whatsoever. Had my Florida address, like I said, Mr. Hauser admitted, oh, yeah, I see you've never had a contract, or we should stop saying that because it's an agreement. But anyway, and David from the FAA, if he said $1 million, that's so far,
We agree.
I don't care. Here it is from FAA.gov, section 136 requires users to pay access charges that are comparable to those charged to tenants on airport making similar use of the airport. That's from the FAA.gov, not somebody's opinion at a group meeting. That, I mean, they can just say whatever they want.
Well, he is the manager of the compliance division of the FAA for the eastern part of the United States of America, so it's not just some guy. But
He's some guy. I mean, I don't think he's overriding FAA.gov.
But that, like he said, and like I said in the quote, is the minimum requirement.
It's not, there's no such thing. It doesn't say it anywhere under FAA.gov. I have the whole section 136. It says like fees.
So your point about tie down fee magically disappeared today is wildly inaccurate. March 18th, it came to my attention that there's only one tie down there and it seems to be perpetually there. So I inquired to Doug because we charge a daily tie down fee to everyone else, except that one plane. There's only one plane. That plane was brought here in 2008, Doug said.
Still pay?
And that has never moved. It's never been started, it's never been moved. We charge $10 a day to every other tie down. So that in June, that individual who lives in Dover, Pennsylvania will get a notice that that tie down fee is going away because we are switching 100% to the $10 a day tie down fee we currently charge customers.
All other airports do not do it that way. There's a monthly tie down fee, and then if I happen to come here for a day, I'm charged the $10. That's why they have that. I buy fuel, they usually waive that for one day. But if I live here and keep my airplane here, that's the monthly tie down fee. Every airport has Colorado, Selinsgrove, Williamsport.
We have no one who uses it.
Doesn't matter, they're not
We
gonna,
only have
if it's
people who
$300.
use it for daily use, other than this guy in Dover who flew his plane here in 2008 and has never been back.
Maybe he can't fly anymore, I don't know.
Why doubt the plane would start?
I can't get to the maintenance hangar to get my airplane inspected. And
Well, according to the state police, the orange fence is all removed by someone.
sir, that is absolutely not true. 6:15 tonight, I talked to Mr. Hauser, the fence is up.
He advised,
I mean, I've called him every day, I've been in his office every day, I left there, they said, okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
And I saw the police report from the police today that says the orange fence is all rolled up and
That
neatly
is
sold.
absolutely not true. 6:15 this evening before I drove up here. It's across the whole front of the 5 hangars.
Off the look.
Okay, so
I'll sign tomorrow.
understood. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Okay. So we know we've been working on this, our committee's been involved, our solicitor's been involved, the FAA has been involved. What brought this to a head is obviously the orange fence. When was that decision made and who made that decision?
I made that decision to basically get the attention, which it did. The reason it was a temporary fence is because it was not expected to stay up long, but no one was moving after 2 months on these agreements. And we are under the gun. Well, all I know is what the solicitor told me, and that is those 6 individual property owners have all received their updated agreements in both February and March.
I see he didn't get that. Exact words Wednesday.
George,
I represent Airports Lock Haven on partners with Ralph Larson. Here. We have been working back and forth between the city solicitor and our solicitor. And whether it be made an offer to the city solicitor, which we would agree to pay $120 a month. We'll pay a year in advance, and we'll pay that every year in advance. We'll get the rest of them assigned with that agreement. We got back absolutely letter back from city solicitor. There is no negotiation whatsoever on it. That came from the city solicitor later on that day, that was Thursday, when they got back to us about no negotiations. We're willing to try to come up with something. We're a commercial business, been there since the forties, been accessing the airport since the forties. And the fence that went across that taxiway was done illegally because there was no NADO put out. There's no X put out on the thing that could have been an example of taxi through at 9, 10 o'clock at night, which there did. It's supposed to be late. Because that taxiway is not lit, so they went down there in the tail dragger and hit that. Somebody would have been on the hook.
We actually talked to the Bureau on the 16th because they called. It was explained to them where the fence was located and that it was put up because of through the fence. And they said that was absolutely fine. We have every right to enforce that.
Should have been a NADO put out. Any other airport, there's a NADO.
Didn't need one because it's not a taxiway of Alpha, Bravo, etc.
It's on the airport plan.
It's on the airport plan. Look at it.
And it's been there for years.
I'm not gonna argue with you what the Bureau of Aviation said. If the Bureau themselves called and discussed it.
well, I guess, Vinny, what are your thoughts? Where do you think we should go?
I liked your quote of like fee. And the like fee that they come up with was the same fee for the hangar rental. And that's how they generated that number. The guy was just giving that example. It could be $1 million. We said, no. What's fair? And he said, well, what are you charging for a hangar now? And we told him, and he said, that's fine. You can charge what you want. But it's just like George, you can't go and say, oh, my rent's $600 a month, but I only want to pay you $4. Because we send the fee, and that was if
You're paying for maintenance on those buildings and electricity. Not doing that in our buildings. That's why we think it should be a little bit lower than what the T hangers are. You're paying for maintenance and electric down there, and you got tenants down there who are running aircraft heaters in those all winter long. Is it right? No, it's not right. They shouldn't be doing that. But we're trying to be fair about this.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay the same price that you're getting maintenance and everything else. You understand that? You're paying those fees because of getting that maintenance we don't worry about. We're paying that ourselves.
if you check the airports that you mentioned, Ceilings Grove and some of the others, what's their hangar fee? It's at least ours, if not more, than what we're charging. We're still lowball on them. Because we don't want to lose customers, we don't want to lose businesses. That's why we're trying to come up with something that works. We just need people on that side of the table to come forward and help us accomplish it. So we don't lose the airport, or it doesn't go in the hole any more than it is.
We've been to your city solicitor multiple times.
Yeah.
I did call Ceilings Grove and acquired the tie down, and they said, why would you want to do that? You can rent a hangar for $160. I said, do I have to sign a lease? You're supposed to, but nobody does. I called them.
Who knows, yeah. Well, thank you.
Well,
Do it.
right now, we're not negotiating this agreement here. The solicitor is negotiating that. An updated one was provided to everyone by email on May 16th itself that incorporated the changes that you said you wanted, that were agreeable. And that was sent back. All I can say is the FAA said these agreements will be done, provided the agreement, and stated the price that it wanted charged. So I cannot negotiate away from that unless council makes the decision to vary from what the FAA said.
We have something to.
But once again, right here,
I'm speaking. we have something from the FAA in writing saying this is what it will be, so we can show. them.
We have
Not
no
us,
report.
them. So you have a committee meeting tomorrow.
We have a committee, meeting. We've got so many things going on for the airport, so many things that we're trying to work on. We do have a meeting tomorrow. Negotiating the contracts is not something that we've been actively involved in as a committee. I mean, I've not seen I've seen some of the letters back and forth between attorneys, but I've not seen agreements and things like that. I don't feel like this is the forum to negotiate something like this. I would rather have continue in a professional manner through the attorneys as we have, and give us an opportunity tomorrow or Wednesday. We do have a committee meeting to discuss it. And if you want to leave your phone number, I'm happy to call and say, look, we had meetings, this is what we did. And I feel like all of this are pretty easy to get a hold of. So I just don't think this is the environment to discuss legal contract when we don't have it in front of us. And the only history I have with it is what I've seen back and forth with attorneys. So I don't feel.
And-
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I agree with you. This isn't the place to negotiate. It is the place to bring attention.
Right.
To it,
And
and
they
certainly
clearly,
done that.
they brought it.
But we do need to get it resolved and so we can move forward. So everything that needs to take.
I will say for the record, unless it's something that, like the FAA specifically directed, like the price example. Any request that you've made for an alteration, I believe, has been approved. And they will be incorporated into the May 16th, as long as they were, obvious and reasonable. But again, when it's all said and done, just like every hangar agreement that we have, it'll go back to the FAA. And they'll either like it or they won't. When we did the non-aviation use of a T hangar rental, we entered into one of those to have that constructed. They kicked it back and rejected it because it didn't have a provision where if an aviation customer came forward, the non-aviation had to be immediately evicted in favor of the aviation customer. So we have to redo that, but they do review them, once they're completed. But getting to the point of completion would be fantastic. If it doesn't happen before our meeting at the beginning of June, it could have an impact on funding for the area.
So in good faith, is the fence coming down tomorrow?
Yes, I was told it was down,
It's absolutely not that.
so we'll look.
Thank you.
That's just one more thing.
Oh, just, I have a hard time saying it.
It's okay.
Could we get through, I want to see the airport thrive, but it has to be run as a business. It has not been run as a business. And secondly, for years when Marcia Cabbage was the manager, we had the airport advisory committee, I served on for 9 years. And I don't know why, one day this was just said, couldn't we solve all these problems? We have, I think I gave you the copy of that, I don't know if you remember. It was a 7-person committee. 2 were users, 2 were business people that had business on there. 1 was from the college because he used to have a program for college. Then the most important 2 were city taxpayers that had absolutely no affiliation with the airport. And their job was to look out for the taxes and make sure it's not being used as a playground. And by the way, it hasn't been. And we got a lot done, and we didn't always agree, but we're advisory only, remember, we're advisory committee. And we got the fuel storage in there, we got the grass strip, all this stuff. So all of a sudden, they want to take us all away from us. They won't hear anything down there. You should have some representation. I don't know why you don't, because when it's an advisory committee, you have to have advice to give. Otherwise, it's not an advisory committee.
Yeah, I'm not sure when, but I'm also aware that we all are, that there's a movement to create an authority that would kind of make that a moot point, I think, if that were to come to fruition to run the airport.
By the way, there was one council person that was Jim Leon, that's who was.
Yeah.
He would be at the meeting, take the minutes, and by the way, we got a financial statement every month, as how the airport is doing. And it really worked good. He'd come in instead of listening to us. He'd come in and present his stuff to the council, and it really worked out well, you know, all of a sudden one day, I don't know who it was,
Yeah, I'm not sure
decided.
when it stopped. But like I said, I think there is a movement to put together an authority. If that would not happen, of course, then I think we could look at something like that. Something like
I
that.
was gonna say, Mr. Williamson, thank you so much for all that you've done.
Yeah.
And we haven't abandoned the idea of an authority to operate the airport. That is something we are actively working on. It is a big process. We've had our ups and downs. I mean, there's two groups. The group, I think Mr. Manzoris is the only person who's the same in both, is kind of involved with both groups that are, the group of you that are here tonight and the group that is wanting this authority, they're talking about an authority to operate. We're working on it. Things take so much time and things are so complicated, but we really are, we're things are moving forward. And so your advisory committee, I think you're gonna see some things. I think you're gonna see some positive.
Well, the reason they have the college person on, is because they used to have a program down here where the college students come down and get their license or whatever.
I took that class.
I would love to see that happen again. Unfortunately, we're losing. You've lost two businesses already, they're gone. The first time, like I said, I've been involved in airports since I was 3 years old. And it's just. The loyalty is just, it's just. But everybody is really upset.
We're not gonna get any further on this tonight. We did, the fence is coming down. You know where we're at as far as trying to get this thing set up. The FAA is requiring it, so we're trying to do that. And hopefully we can keep the negotiation with our solicitor moving forward so we get this done. So thank you for taking the time to bring it to our attention.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sooner or later.
Okay, we'll move on. Any other comments that don't have to do with the airport issue? All right. Request to paint Independence Day message on Groves Investment Street.
Matthew Taylor of East Main Street is requesting to have Happy Birthday America painted on the crossbars of Vesper and Grove Streets. I have attached the image there for the month of July, and I'll coordinate with Mr. Taylor for the stencil. I'm working right now with Public Works. They're gonna get the amount of paint that's needed. This it was a specific shade of blue and red requested, so we're gonna calculate. Push the green button.
Green button back by the wall there. Press that to open the door. Go ahead. Thank you. Sorry.
So yeah, I'm just coordinating with Public Works and Mr. Taylor for that if approved.
So what's your count?
Second.
Motion Florence, second. Any questions or comments? I know at one point. Reimbursed for the paint. Continue to do this kind of thing, we should think about that.
He said he's purchasing the paint,
Oh, he's purchased.
because there's specific,
But I think that should be part of whatever we do, you know, so it's unique for everyone. Just my thoughts on that issue. I have a motion on the floor. Yes, sir.
I'm Matthew Taylor. Who pays for the pride flag?
Well, originally, that's what brought it up. Originally, the group paid for that. I don't know if that's the case any longer or how that's split.
The colors in that flag are the colors we use for Pennsylvania one calls.
Okay,
So we use those same shades. The only one that we didn't have the first year was the purple color. And so the group paid for that paint. The rest is the one call paint. It's supposed to come off in like a couple months. The traffic paint on the other hand stays, you know, a couple of years. So if you wanted the same blue and red as the Pennsylvania one call, we can accommodate that with paint that we have on hand. The white would be a little more problematic because the only white paint we stock is actually the traffic paint. So it would be on for a couple of years if we use the city's traffic white. But if you don't mind using the same blue and red, we certainly stock that paint all the time, and then it will just be the white, to take care
Am I able to actually see what the actual colors, because I don't really know what the PA1 call paint looks like.
of. Yes.
If you like talking on the phone, then maybe I can go with me.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
coordinate. Which he's already aware of it too, so.
Okay.
Any others?
No, it's pretty close to what the example is here. Cause I used to use it all the time, and it's real close.
The red is red.
The red and the blue.
Yeah, it's red.
Blue might be a little lighter because it's like, the blue. When you see it painted on the street, that's where the water line is. And it's a little brighter than the blue in like the US flag.
Yeah, I had questions about the blue, red.
The red would definitely work because it's, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the red.
red's electrical.
Okay,
But we'll get with you and see what we can do. Pardon me?
Who pays for the stencil? Who pays for the stencil?
oh,
We don't have a stencil, we've never had a stencil before, but our guys can't really handle that.
So you would need to provide
We
the steps.
just do stripes.
When we do the stripes, we tape those off with blue tape, paint half of them, do all four, go back, take the tape off, put new tape on, do all four. Usually takes like an hour. But we just use blue painter's tape for that.
any questions?
So obviously, this is gonna get into one issue, so, I mean, clearly, I don't want to not think it's fun, but clearly, we can't be on the street that shouldn't be, so while I think that, you know, if we allow it to happen because we always have, I unfortunately think that we need to revisit, create some boundaries to what be on the street and not on the street. Because clearly we don't want to be a bulletin board for.
Well, that's not part of this discussion. That's something we wanted to get addressed. We'd have to put that. That's it. I put you to read. What's in front of us tonight is the specific request. Anybody have any questions or comments on this specific request? Okay, call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yep.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinkers. Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yeah.
Mayor Long.
Yes.
Is that an issue you want to do next time? Are you proposing that for be on the agenda next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put it on there. I guess that we're gonna discuss the street thing policy.
Cause do we have like, is there a guideline or is it gonna be?
I think there's any specific this time. Just make a request, any like record, checks it against our plan. If it matches.
Well, I just bring it to you guys.
Right.
Because I was told not.
Right, but she lets know whether it's the plan. And not her decision, it's ours.
Right.
That's really all there is to it at this point.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have anything else under requests or?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business. 5A, consideration of resolution number 2024-19, revision of CDBG.
This is a revision resolution for fiscal year 2021 funds. This will move $6,546.16 to the Lockhaven Skate Park budget. To just tie up some loose ends with that project, and keep it fully grant funded. It's coming from the East Bald Eagle Race Street paving project, which came in under budget, by a lot due to COVID estimating. We had no idea what was happening. So it's still funds.
Do I have a motion?
I move the revision.
I second it.
Motion, Florina, second. Any further discussion on the motion? Keith?
Abby, do we have any paving projects this year that we can roll it into instead of the park? And because paving is always expensive.
Yeah,
We don't want that to overrun or come short, we'll pay a block less, so.
there is. DCD has not announced allocations for this year yet. I'm not sure why, I haven't got any update, but, so we haven't started the community process for that. But I'm sure they started shortly, no matter what, but that will come out of the process and we'll look at a list of paving projects as well. There is, even with the potential to roll it into Overman, I think there's a, 74,000 there that could go into different projects. Taking that into consideration.
We don't have any street paving this year. We do have a significant patching project, but that wouldn't be CDBG eligible. We have more than 90 street patches to do this year. And a couple base repairs in different places, but those are all separate from CDBG.
Any other question? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yep.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson. Mayor Long.
Any other unfinished business?
I have none, Your Honor.
New business. It's a consideration of approval of commercial loan to Mama Martinez.
So we have our, commercial loan committee met last week, to discuss a potential Monaco loan. In the amount of $30,780. The loan program offers loans up to $50,000 to small businesses in the city, at an interest rate of 3%. But Mama Martinez applied for that loan as the Mexican cuisine food truck, and was recommended with flying colors for a loan approval, by the committee and Nancy DePug as well. We do full credit. They are recommending that approval to city council. If approved, I'll move forward with the business, and the solicitor on loan.
Do I have a motion for the approval?
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second question.
No, we have a representative this year that,
Do I have to
might
wait?
want to say
My
something.
name is Anne Reese, so I'm here on behalf of my Martina Reese, who is at Mount Nittany, because she is a CNA. So. You're all good. Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you for your guys' consideration, and we are super excited to offer authentic Mexican food. I understand that in this area, it's, in my opinion, it's more of a Tex-Mex, but there is so much that my mom is so willing to share with you guys. So again, thank you guys so much for your consideration.
You.
Good luck, Chloe.
Yes. Any other questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander. Yep. Councilmember Brandon. Yes. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. KCSP Summer Recreation Program.
That is, the parks this summer that the Keystone Central School District will have their summer recreation programs at are Hammer Mill Park, Piper Harmon, and the Tiger Den. And the program will run from June 17th until August 9th, from 9:30 to noon, Monday to Friday. So nice, that's coming back in.
Comcast franchise fee.
This is so that the minutes will reflect that the franchise fee from Comcast for the first quarter was $23,173.72.
Anything else for the new business?
I have nothing here.
Real quick, get out of there, I've been getting a lot of stuff on. Skate park is a tremendous success, but it's causing a lot of litter. I don't know if we did it more often, but
We did up it to twice a week, when complaints first came in.
yeah,
So JJ Peters does pick up 2 times a week there currently.
Okay.
And I think there are 3 cans. But, I can have Jared check the number of cans.
do we do any of the emptying of like the cans around town? Or does that all happen to JJ Peters?
That all happens with JJ except for the levy.
Okay, because I got someone poured on small board to a picture of the can over by the levee, one of the levee parking lots. That was overflowing and garbage on the ground.
It looks like a levy, like a can that's up on the levy.
No, this is down by the lot.
Okay, that's a JJ Peters thing. So we just need to know when that happened, and then we can get a hold of JJ's to have them pick it up. Usually it's the next day after we're notified, because by the time we get notified, they've already finished their route.
Do they pick up on Mondays or is there a set schedule or
It depends on the
location?
particular location.
Main Street, I think is Tuesdays.
Yeah. All right, well, I just want to get them all, send them on to you, so you know. More recently than. Does anyone else have anything?
The event this weekend, the run walk was tremendous. The group that organized it did a great job. And the local, 3 restaurants from town donated food. Leo's, downtown, Stella A's, and Mule Corner. And everything was just run very, very well. It's nice. If you didn't participate, it's a nice event to participate.
Speaking of events, tomorrow night is the summer concert series review. Stella A's. 5:30 to 6:30. Excited about that this year. We're moving back Sundays for the concerts. That used to be on Saturdays at the flooding stage, on Sundays. So with to hear who's playing, what Sundays, and who's playing on the Friday nights. So if you can make it, Stella A's and hear the announcement. This is already in the 2024 summer concert series. Anything else?
Say one quick thing, we are hiring lifeguards, we do have a good lineup, but, anyone knows anyone interested in becoming a lifeguard, the YMCA has a meeting next weekend that they can sign up for. And our pay rate starts out really, really good, so if you know anyone interested, just send them my way.
Steve?
Volunteer.
I already was a certified lifeguard one, not any longer.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned, thank you.
Yeah.